father's from Nigeria,
And both my parents are.
both your parents, and so he understands the dialect in the story, and he's going to read it using the dialect where he can, and then he's going to explain some of the terms, because even I would miss that because I wouldn't know what those things mean in that culture. So anyway, that's why I've asked him to come and read this for you, and he did a great job last year with it.
Thank you. So a little background to the story is, right now, the main character's name is Jonathan, and right now it's post-Civil War time in Nigeria, and so there's a lot of corruption, and because of the Civil War, the result of it was that a lot of the people in Nigeria were poor, and so they had like menial jobs like mining, and they had to do other stuff on the side in order to support their family. So yeah, we'll start. Jonathan Iwegbu counted himself extraordinarily lucky. Happy survival meant so much more to him than just the current fashion of greeting old friends in the first hazy days of peace. It went deep to his heart. He had come out of the war with 5 inestimable blessings: his head, his wife Maria's head, and the heads of 3 out of their 4 children. As a bonus, he also had his old bicycle, a miracle too, but naturally not to be compared to the safety of 5 human heads. So the reason that he's counting the blessings of his children's head is because he's happy that some of them only one did not make it out of the war, but the rest of them did live, and yeah, it was a very bloody time in Nigeria. The bicycle had a little history of its own. One day at the height of the war, it was commandeered for urgent military action. Hard as its loss would have been to him, he would have still let it go without a thought had he not had some doubts about the genuineness of the officer. It wasn't his disreputable rags, nor the toes peeping out of one of the blue and one brown canvas shoes, nor yet the 2 stars of his rank done obviously in a hurry and bureau that troubled Jonathan. Many good and heroic soldiers looked the same or worse. It was rather a certain lack of grip and firmness in his manner. So Jonathan, suspecting he might be amenable to influence, rummaged in his raffia bag and produced the 2 pounds which he had been going to buy firewood, which his wife Maria retailed to camp officials for extra stockfish and cornmeal, and got his bicycle back. That night, he buried it in the little clearing in the bush where the dead of the camp, including his own youngest son, were buried. And when he dug it up again a year later after the surrender, all it needed was a little palm oil greasing. Nothing puzzles God, he said in wonder. He put it to immediate use as a taxi and accumulated a small pile of be-a-friend money, ferrying camp officials and their families across the 4-mile stretch to the nearest tarred road. His standard charge per trip was 6 pounds, and those who had the money were only glad to be rid of some of it on this way. At the end of the fortnight, he had made a small fortune of 150 pounds. Then he made the journey to Negu and found another miracle waiting for him. It was unbelievable. He rubbed his eyes and looked again, and it was still standing there, totally inferior to the 5 heads in the family. This newest miracle was his little house in Ogu Overside. Indeed, nothing puzzles God. Only 2 houses away, a huge concrete edifice some wealthy contractor had put up just before the war was a mountain of rubble. And here was Jonathan's little zinc house of no regrets, built with mud blocks quite intact. Of course, the doors and windows were missing, and 5 sheets off the roof. So, what he's trying to say here, nothing puzzles God, which is something that he says continuously throughout the short story. It's just that everything has an outcome, and even though it may puzzle you, God just knows that it's going to come in the long run. But what was that? And anyhow, he had returned to Enegu early enough to pick up bits of old zinc and wood and soggy sheets of cardboard lying around the neighborhood before thousands more came out of their forest holes looking for the same things. He got a destitute carpenter with 1 old hammer, a blunt plane, and a few bent and rusty nails in his tool bag to turn this assortment of wood, paper, and metal into door and window shutters for 5 Nigerian shillings or 50 be-a-friend pounds. He paid the pounds and moved in with his overjoyed family carrying 5 heads on their shoulders. His children picked mangoes near the military cemetery and sold them to soldiers' wives for a few pennies, real pennies this time, and his wife started making dresses. Oh yeah, eyebrow balls for neighbors in a hurry to start life again. With his family's earnings, he took his bicycle to the villages around and brought fresh palm wine, which he had mixed generously in his rooms with water, which had recently started running again in the public tap down the road. and opened up a bar for soldiers and other lucky people with good money. So something important in this in that little dialogue describing his family is because everyone had to do something in order to live, because there wasn't really just one joint source of income, because the war left everyone in disarray. So what you had to do, so each family member had to bring in money somehow or some way. At first, he went daily, then every other day, and finally once a week to the offices of the coal corporation where he used to be a miner, to find out what was what. The only thing he did find out in the end was that little house of his was an even greater blessing than he had thought. Some of his fellow ex-miners who had nowhere to return at the end of the day's waiting just slept outside the doors of the offices and cooked what meal they could scrounge together in Born Vita tins. As the weeks lengthened and still nobody could say what was what, Jonathan discontinued his weekly visits altogether and faced his Palm Wine bar. But nothing puzzled Scott. Came the day of the windfall when, after 5 days of endless scuffles and queues and counter queues in the sun outside the treasury, he had 20 pounds counted in his palms as ex-gratia award for the rebel money he had turned in. It was like Christmas for him, and for many others like him when the payments began. They called it, since few can manage its proper official name, egg rasher. So, egg rasher is just like, it's like a barter system. So you turn in like different items, like it can turn in anything. It has to have a value though, and the government gives you like the be a friend pounds in exchange for it. So if you turn in something, you get a little bit of money. As soon as the pound notes were placed in his palm, Jonathan simply closed it tight over them and buried fist and money inside his trouser pocket. He had to be extra careful because he had seen a man a couple of days earlier collapse into near madness in an instant before that oceanic crowd, because no sooner had he got his 20 pounds than some heartless ruffian picked it off him. Though it was not right that a man in such an extremity of agony could be blamed, yet many in the queues that day were able to remark quietly on the victim's carelessness, especially after he had pulled out innards of his pocket and revealed a hole in it big enough to pass a thief's head. But of course, he had insisted that the money had been in the other pocket, pulling it to show its comparative wholeness. So one had to be careful. So again, right now, it's just explaining like in the past, someone had just gotten robbed by a thief for the money he had just gotten, and so people were just like doing anything and everything just to get money, because again, it was a hard time. Jonathan soon transferred the money to his left-hand pocket as to leave his right free for shaking hands should the need arise. Though by fixing his gaze at such an elevation as to miss all approaching human faces, he made sure that he did not arise until he got home. He was normally a heavy sleeper, but that night he heard all the neighborhood noises die down one after the other. Even the night watchman, who knocked the hour on some metal somewhere in the distance, had fallen silent after knocking 1 o'clock. That must have been the last thought in Jonathan's mind before he was finally carried away himself. He couldn't have been gone for long though, when he was violently awakened again. "Who is knocking?" whispered his wife, lying beside him on the floor. "I don't know," he whispered back breathlessly. The second time the knocking came, it was so loud and imperious that the rickety old door could have fallen. "Who is knocking?" he asked then, his voice parched and trembling. And so, right now, like from here and point on, they're gonna talk in a dialect called Pidgin. And so, my parents actually grew up in Nigeria, but then they moved here. But a lot of their friends still live here, and so they speak Pidgin to each other, and it's basically English, but it's broken English. So like there are some things you'll understand, and there are some things you won't understand because they speak it, it's supposed to be spoke very fast, and not everyone will understand it, but I'll explain it after I say it. He asked then, his voice parched and trembling. "Natif man and him people," come the cool reply. Make you open the door." This was followed by the heaviest knocking of all. So what he essentially just said was the person outside was a thief, and he wanted Jonathan and his wife to open the door. Maria was the first to raise the alarm. Then he followed in all their children. "Police ho, thieves ho, neighbors ho, police ho, we are lost, we are dead. Neighbors, are you asleep? Wake up, police ho." This went on for a long time and then stopped suddenly. Perhaps they had This went on for a long time and then stopped suddenly. Perhaps they had scared the thief away. There was total silence, but only for a short while. Don't finish, asked the voice outside. Make we help you small. Oh yeah, everybody. Police oh, thief man oh, neighbors oh, we don't know so, police oh. There are at least 5 other voices besides the leaders. Jonathan and his family were now completely paralyzed by terror. Maria and the children sobbed inaudibly like lost souls. Jonathan groaned continuously. So what essentially happened during that time, during this, was the thieves were outside the door, and so they wanted to come in, and so they had usually like an alarm system where they would try and wake up the neighbors because the police weren't really available, and so the neighbors didn't hear, and so when he said you done finished, that essentially means are you done yet? And so they cried out again, but no one helped them. So yeah, that's basically what happened. The silence that followed the thief's alarm vibrated horribly. Jonathan all but begged their leader to speak again and be done with it. My friend, said he at long last, we don't try our best for call them, but I think say them or don't sleep over. So where can we go to now? Sometime you won't call soldier, or you won't make me call them for you. Soldier better pass police. No be so? Nah so, replied his men. Jonathan thought he heard even more voices now than before and groaned heavily. His legs were sagging under him and his throat felt like sandpaper. So what the thief just said was that he called Jonathan, so I'll translate. So he said, my friend, we tried to call them for you, but they were all asleep. So what are we going to do now? Do you want us to call soldier? Or do you want us to call them for you? The soldier are better than police. Is that so? And then his men just so, it's so. That's how yeah. My friend, why you know they talk again? I did ask you say you want make me call soldier? No. Alright, so now make we talk business. We know be bad thief. We know like for make trouble. Trouble done finish. War done finish, another kata kata way there for inside. No civil war again. This time not civil peace. So no be so? Nah so, answered the horrible chorus. So I translated again. And so this is what the thief is saying. The thief is saying, alright, let's talk business. We're not bad thieves. We don't want to cause trouble. The trouble is finished. The war is finished, and all the kata essentially just means rubbish. So all the rubbish is already inside. There's no time for civil war again. There's no time for civil war again. This is time for civil peace. Is it so? And then his men goes in. His men say again, now so. Says meaning, yes. What do you want from me? I'm a poor man. Everything I had went with this war. Everything I had went with this war. Why do you come to me? You know people who have money. We are right. We don't say you know got plenty. We don't say you know gets plenty money. But we serve no need to get any. So therefore, make you open this window and give us £100 and we go kumot. Otherwise, we do come for inside to show you gata boy like this. A volley of automatic fire rang through the sky. Maria and the children began to weep aloud again. So again, I'll translate. All right. We did say that you had a lot of money, but we don't even have a kobo, which is basically like how the US dollars have cents. That's what aniki is. So therefore, we're gonna open this window and you give us £100 and we will leave. Otherwise, we come inside and we essentially just kill you and your family, which is what the automatic fire line was describing. Missy, that's talking about Maria. Missy is Maria, Jonathan's wife. Missy, they cry again. No need for that. We don't talk, say we're not good teeth. We just make our small money and go, now we'll look. My dad knows how to say this word. I don't know how to say this word. And we go the other way. No molest. We didn't molest at all. Sang the chorus. So what he essentially just said was that, Maria cries again. There's no need for that. We talked, and we are good thieves. We just take our small money and go the other way. No molest. I'm pretty sure you all know what that means. We didn't no molest at all. So they sang the chorus. My friends, began Jonathan, or sleep. I hear what you say, and I thank you. If I had 100 pounds, look here, my friend. Nobody play, we come play for your house. If you make mistake and step one inside, you're going to like ammo. So therefore, to God who made me, if you come inside and find 100 pounds, take it and shoot me and shoot my wife and children. I swear to God, the only money I have in this life is 20 pounds. Egg ration, they gave me today. Okay, time to go. Make you open this window and bring the 20 pounds. We go manage them like that. There were now loud murmurs of dissent among the crowds. Nah lie, the man lie. He got plenty money. Make me go inside and search properly well. What's it be 20 pounds? And so what essentially just happened here was the man was like, oh, okay, we're not gonna be inside your house anymore. And Jonathan was like, so essentially the man just thought he was lying about not having 100 pounds. And then Jonathan said, oh, you can shoot me, shoot my wife, shoot my whole family if I do have 100 pounds. And so the head thief was like, time to go. Just give me the 20 pounds. And we'll leave. And all his men, and all the thieves' men were like, no, the man is lying. He has 100 pounds. Make him go inside. Let's search. Shut up! Sang the leader's voice like a lone shot in the sky and silenced the murmuring at once. Ah, you did. Bring the money quick. I am coming, said Jonathan, fumbling in the darkness with the key of the small wooden box he kept by his side on the mat. At the first sign of light, as neighbors and others assembled to commiserate with him, he was already strapping his 5-gallon demijohn to his bicycle carrier and his wife. Sweating in the open fire, was turning over acra balls in a wide clay bowl of boiling oil. In the corner, his eldest son was rinsing out dregs of yesterday's palm wine from old beer bottles. I count it as nothing, he told his sympathizers, his eyes on the rope he was trying. What is egg ration? Did I depend on it last week? Or is it greater than the other things that went with the war? I say, let egg ration perish in the shin of flames. Let it go where everything else is gone. Nothing puzzles God. So, like, essentially in the last line, in the last 2 paragraphs, someone, like, if it was a normal circumstances, they would have been shaken up by what just happened. But because of the circumstances that everyone else was in and what Jonathan's family was in, he had to like not really pay attention to it, and he had to get right back to work no matter what. And what he means by I count it as nothing is sorry. What he means by is I count it as nothing is that what just happened doesn't really mean anything to me. And again, he ends it with nothing puzzles God, which is that nothing, like, what it really means. Nothing puzzles God. God made it happen for a reason, so I'll just look on with it. So, okay, that's it.
Good job. Good job. Does anybody have any questions? I could not have done that justice. So that was good having that cultural awareness on the story, so it helps you understand it. Because somebody in here is going to have this story for their research paper. What'll be nice is that you've got a resource that you can go and talk to. Okay? Any questions you have for Nani?